Hey guys, and welcome to the first video for Charlie Foxtrot. It is going to be a Warhammer 40,000 TTRPG set in the only war system, which means all the players, the whole setting will be based around the Imperial Guard. This first video is going to be basically setting and lore. It's not 100% important for you to watch it, but if you're interested, this is a good one to watch because it'll give you the basic setting for the campaign, and it'll talk about the different hives, the kind of map and the strategics of it, and the basic mission that the Imperial Guard regiments will have starting off, and it might give you an idea of where things might go. The next videos will detail things like the regiments, go into a bit more detail about them, about some of the commander NPCs that will be in it, and also will detail how to join and play if you are interested. So that'll probably be the next video, so if you're interested in that, check out the next video on Charlie Foxtrot, which should be coming in a couple of days. So, the first thing we're going to talk about is my horrible map design, and there should be a picture of a map up there for you guys now. So basically, the map in 40k is a basic layout of part of the planet, the properly populated part of the planet, the most important part strategically. If you own this area of the planet, you basically own the planet. And what we have is we have a multiple number of hives and a few kind of like basic battle lines drawn where the orcs and the planetary kind of defense force are fighting it out pretty much. So what you can see is there are three main chunks of orc forces. Like, there are orcs, if you see landing site alpha kind of off that island, or I can't remember what they're called, spit of land. That's where the Imperial Guard units are planning to land currently. Now, this may change depending on tactics and all these kind of things. So they may choose to land somewhere else, but for the moment, that's where they're landing. There are orcs occupying that area, but they aren't heavily entrenched. The lines of green basically indicate very heavily entrenched orcs, like big, massive armies and massive fights. And the slightly lighter green is a slightly lighter defended area. So the hives that you can see, you have Hive Bastort, Hive Bastern, Hive Latate, kind of up by itself, Hive Crater, also isolated off by itself, and then the Gorlock Hive Network. Now, the Gorlock Hive Network is 5 large hives with Primus in the middle, protected by the other 4. Primus is kind of the main center where all the citizens live, and then the other 4 serve different purposes. So, for example, Gorlock Secundus is production, so they produce tanks, artillery, fighters, along with everyday things. It's basically a big factory. So, strategically, it's fairly important. If the orcs get their hands on it, they'll start being able to churn out tanks and everything like that. If the Imperial Guard get their hands on it, then they'll be able to do the same thing. So, most likely, there's going to be heavy fighting and an attempt to seize, for example, Gorlock Secundus, because it's very useful strategically. The other aspect, of course, is that there is a government still in place on the planet, focused around the Hive Network, Prime, Gorlock Secundus, etc. And if they have their hands on it, as they currently do, they may be willing to supply the Imperial Guard, if the Imperial Guard is, like, in the area, but they'll probably come with a price. So there's going to be a little amount of politicking and stuff going on behind the scenes. We'll see how that goes. Gorlock Tertius is storage. Basically, it's a big bunker, and it stores food and everything that goes through this sector goes to Gorlock Tertius. So again, in terms of production, it's not that useful, but capturing it gives you access to a whole load of stuff, like everyday stuff and important stuff. Gorlock Quartus is a communications hub. It's basically it holds the knowledge, the astropaths, anything to do with communication over planet and all that kind of thing. This tends to happen here, so not as important, but still reasonably important. And then Gorlock Quintus is a prison. It is where all the lawbreakers and criminals on the planet are taken, which means that it's strategically not very important, but if it's not kept in check, suddenly there's a whole lot of prisoners loose. You may even find like problems with raiders and stuff if all those prisoners got loose. So it's important to keep them in that prison. So talking about the other planets, we have you can see in the corner, in the bottom right corner, it should be Hive Bastort, which was originally like a slightly smaller hive, which was being built up in the area. It got hit by a rock. An orc rock is like an asteroid adapted to orcs to use for either invasion or just space combat and this kind of thing. They strap guns to it, they strap engines to it, and they fly it around. Very orcish. So the Hive Bastort got hit by one of these, and orcs poured out. It is currently unknown to the Imperial Guard and to the rest of the planet what's going on there. What you guys will know as players and viewers starting out is that it is in the midst of a horrific melee, and yeah, there's orcs and humans fighting in there. Literally everyone who's part of that hive is currently fighting. So in terms of importance, it's not super important, but it is a hive that needs help. The hive next to it is the closest hive to Bastort, which is Bastern. It is a munition production that's its main focus. So it produces munition like grenades, ammunition, or kind of just general supply for armies and stuff. So it would be very useful to have. Unfortunately, or fortunately, it is currently trying to reach Bastort, as they share like a common link. Like a lot of the hive moved the main portion of the people going to Bastort when it was being built came from Bastern, so they've lots of family crossover and that kind of thing. So they have the ammunition, but not really the troops, and they're trying to kind of break through this orc defensive line you see kind of or battle line that's formed up. The other hives we have are in the top right. We have Hive Latate. Yeah. It's basically a farming hive almost. It's responsible for food production, which isn't going to be a problem for the Imperial Guard starting off. It will be a problem for the other hives, because that's where they've been getting their food. And as you can see, it's not like directly cut off. It's not completely cut off, but it is going to be very difficult for them to get food to the other hives. So starvation could very much become a problem as the campaign progresses, unless they get the food coming through from Hive Latate. And also, in the future, the stores of the Imperial Guard regiments and the army in general, is going to start dwindling if they're slowed down and everything. So it may actually be one of the more important hives to take for later on, so that they have they have food all the time. They're decently equipped in that respect. And then finally there is Hive Crater. Hive Crater is Sheepy's personal pet hive, which has been completely cut off. There is no information about it. There is no idea what's going on over there. You can see it's heavily cut off by Orc battle lines. It's most likely fighting the Orc armies by itself, and the Gorlock hive network, the Primus, Secundus, Tertius, Quartus, etc. They haven't had any Orcs pushing at them from that side, and they haven't pushed that way at all. So, who knows exactly what's going on there, aside from me, but yeah. That's the basic setting for Charlie Foxtrot. Is you have a planet which was just a general planet. It probably would have been, in the future raised for Imperial Guard, this type of thing. It's not specifically like an agri world or specifically like a production world. It does a little bit of everything. Not in kind of, it's not churning out millions of tanks as fast as possible. It did a whole load of different things. The reason that it's being targeted in this kind of Imperial invasion, to take it back from the Orcs, is that it's reasonably strategically valuable. It's a good point, and it was part of the Imperial... it was part of the Imperium's plans to spread out in the area and regain some more planets and this type of thing. So it's actually reasonably important for the Imperial plans. Not enough to warrant an Exterminatus or anything like that to regain it. Therefore, in the setting of Charlie Foxtrot, there's a slightly larger war going on between where a small Orc Warg is kind of pushing up in the sector, in the area, and these Orc rocks, this Orc invasion, kind of splintered off, seemingly at random, and hit this planet. And therefore the Imperials decided they needed the planet, it was useful strategically, so they siphoned off some of their regiments to go and deal with this Orc problem and retake the planet, hopefully as quickly as possible. But with Orcs, it's always difficult. So yeah, the basic invasion plan, and obviously in the next video we'll talk about the regiments, and we'll talk about some of the characters, like the commanders of the regiments and the overall Lord General of the regiment, of the army. But their current basic plan is to land initially on the marking landing site Alpha and push off down this area. Now, it would possibly be a better idea for them to land at like the Hive network, maybe at Bastern, even Hive Latate, kind of up that way. However, there are Orcs situated kind of all over this area. They haven't completely surrounded all of the hives, like to the southeast between Bastern and the Hive network. It's fairly easy. There are Orc raiding parties everywhere. There are Orc flyers and things like that. But, a moderately sized army could get through without too much issue. The main problem is that the Orcs are everywhere at this point. There are raiding parties and things like that. And the kind of governing body of Gorlock, the planet, were unhappy about the idea of the Imperials landing on them, basically. Currently, there is a concentrated defense around the Gorlock Hive network tribes. All of the hives They're all connected, so there is easy kind of running between them. There's a big kind of like fortified wall that runs between the hives that's defended. It's a big network. It's almost one hive. And it's very organized and it's decently well defended, and the command structure is still in place. So the idea the regiments came up with is, if we land here and start pushing out, we'll have a decent defensive wall to kind of push through, and either we're not met with much resistance from the orcs and we can push out and kind of grab a big area and then kind of break through their lines above the hive network, which is like, out of these 3 big blocks of orcs, the lighter green one is less dense, it's less strong, and it's the one that's been primarily engaging the Gorlock hive network, so it's a bit weaker. It's used up some of its supplies and some of its orcs, and orcs have been killed. And the other thing, of course, is if they can push through, maybe cut through like the north edge of it, they can cut off part of the army of the orcs, isolate them, kill them, and also open up a path to Hive Latate and get that food. So that's their basic plan currently. The first thing they need to do is, there are specific fortifications along the along that kind of spit of land, where they're going to run into heavier resistance, and they're definitely going to run into resistance when they land. So the plan is to hopefully get the orcs coming at them where they can bottleneck them and use like heavy firepower to blast them and kind of set up a defensive line. There probably will be some discussion between the commanders of the regiment. If there's a better plan that they come up with, this may change. But just, so you guys know the basics of what's going to happen, that's there. The basic mission is to retake this entire area. The area is mostly overrun by orcs. There are a lot of fortification, there are bunkers in places, there are mountain ranges, there are, little towns, big towns, like all spotted all over this map. As we go through, I'll edit the map and kind of change things as things change as the campaign goes on. But the basic idea is for the Imperial Guard, specifically, to take over this planet, to reclaim it from the orcs, and also to fortify it from more invasions. And even, there has been times when the Imperial Guard's taken back a planet from Xenos or, a cult or something. And once they've done that, the planet has risen up in rebellion because it's seen its chance to become independent and work for itself and not be part of the Imperium. So there is a slight danger that if the Imperial Guard regiments do indeed liberate the planet from orcs, it will just rebel against them, and then there'll be a civil war going on the planet instead. So they've got to be careful to take the planet back from the orcs, but also not lose the planet to rebellion or anything like that. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, and I'm really looking forward to it. This video is basically for anyone who wants the setting, for anyone who wants kind of like an idea of what's going to be happening going into it. I wanted to make this. In the next video, I'm going to go into the details of the regiment, kind of flesh out their lore a little bit, and then probably at the beginning of the video as well, I'll detail how you can become a player in the game if you're a viewer. How you can be a player in the game, and kind of the details of playing in the game if you're a creator or a YouTuber, Twitch streamer, anything like that. And yeah, it's going to go over those kind of things. And then hopefully there will be a couple more videos kind of detailing everything you need to know. And then in... what's the date today? Let's have a very quick look. In maybe 3-4 weeks, we should start seeing games starting. So the other thing that I need to say, and I'll try and say this at the end of all of the videos, maybe the beginning of some of the videos as well, is the current plan is for Thursday evenings to be the time for Charlie Foxtrot. It will be on my Twitch channel. I will upload it to YouTube afterwards. So you can either watch it live on Twitch, or you can watch it on YouTube later as like a VOD, I guess. So it will be on Thursdays. I'm going to have 2 separate times so I can cater to the US and to the kind of, you know, Europe as well. So the times are probably going to be 7 PM UK time, and then maybe like 1 AM UK time as well. There'll only be 1 session per week, and that will be like, I'll be having creators come in to play, you know, characters for a couple of weeks. I'll go into it in more detail in the next video. But then there'll be player games as well, which I'll organize with the players who've signed up, who want to play, and those will be, again, I'll go into this in more detail in the next video, but those will be at separate times organized, and they'll be a bit more like random. So yeah, that's the current plan. That's where we're going. Hopefully 3, maybe 4 weeks max, and we'll start getting the streams out, the story will get rolling, and you'll see some interesting things. I have a lot planned for this. Part of the reason it's taken so long is I've been working on multiple twists and turns that could happen, depending on how everyone plays the game. You know, it's going to be like a big collaborative effort on you guys. All of the players, you know, the creators, the Twitch streamers and YouTubers who come to play in the kind of main game, and then all of the viewers and everything, you'll be affecting everything that happens. So, to use a classic example, if those of you know Peachy Pixel 8, big friend of the channel, big friend of mine, he could be in a game where you guys as viewers have worked really hard, captured a bunker, and just secured it, and then he gets sent in with his unit, his regiment, to hold the bunker, and he loses it. And that will be represented as we go through, like, you know, you'll capture a bunker as players, as viewers, and then it gets lost by Peachy. You know, he fails to hold it, they have to retreat, they lose men, they lose strategic position. Like, all of this can happen. Like, you know, anyone playing could be the people to break through and save Hive and gain food for the regiments and everything like that. So I think it could be a lot of fun. Obviously, as time goes on, strategically important places are going to pop up and be like important. It's not just going to be this basic map you see. Other stuff's going to get added to it. So hopefully you guys will enjoy this. As I said, part of the reason it's taken so long is that I've been planning for many eventualities. So yeah. Anyway, check in a couple of days, 2 or 3 days. The next video, the regiments and how to sign up. The video will be out, and you can see if you're interested. So thanks for watching, guys, and yeah, see you later.